Here's a question that will keep you up at night. What if I told you only 0.01% of people on Earth will ever own one full Bitcoin? But here's the part that gets crazy, and this is what the wealthy don't want you to fully understand. Your net worth doesn't grow in a straight line after you hit one Bitcoin. It grows exponentially. I'm talking about wealth acceleration so fast it almost feels unreal when you run the numbers. And in the next 15 minutes, I'm going to break down the real math, the real data, and the same wealth principles that have created generational fortunes for centuries. What's going on, everybody? I'm Mr. Bitcoin Maxi, and remember, we are all Bitcoin Maxis. Today, we're going to break down why stacking the first Bitcoin is the hardest part, but also the part that changes everything. So let's get into it. Let's start with what makes Bitcoin different from literally every asset in human history. There will ever only be 21 million Bitcoin. That's it. No more, no changes, no inflation button, no bailout printer. No, we changed our minds. 21 million hard cap forever. As of November 2025, about 19.8 million Bitcoin have already been mined. That means only 1.2 million are left to be mined over the next 115 years. But here's where scarcity gets into overdrive. Experts estimate between 2.3 million and 7 million Bitcoin are already gone forever. Lost passwords, dead hard drives, people who passed away without leaving their keys. Let's split the difference and call it 4 million Bitcoin gone for good. So now let's do the real math. 21 million total supply minus 4 million lost leaves about 17 million Bitcoin that humans can actually access. Now compare that to 8 billion people on Earth. 8 billion divided by 17 million equals roughly 0.002125 Bitcoin per person. At a price of $101,788 per Bitcoin, that math works out to $216 worth of Bitcoin per person if it were split evenly across the world. But you're not here to hold the average. You're here to hold one full Bitcoin. And if you do that, you hold 470 times more than what the average person will ever own. That puts you in the top 0.01% of Bitcoin holders globally. Now you see the scarcity. Next, let's talk about the wealth impact. Let me show you exponential growth in a way that makes it stick. Two scenarios. Scenario one, I give you $10,000 today. Scenario two, I give you 1 penny, but it doubles every day for 30 days. I mean, which one are you gonna pick? Most people immediately say 10 grand. But watch what actually happens when that penny doubles daily. Day 1, 1 cent. Day 5, 16 cents. Day 10, $5.12. Day 15, $163.84. Day 20, $5,242.88. Day 25, $167,272.16. Day 30, $5,368,709.12. That is exponential growth. And that is exactly what happens after you cross one Bitcoin. Let's compare two investors. Investor 1 owns 0.1 Bitcoin. Investor 2 owns 1 Bitcoin. Today's price, $101,788. Investor 1, 0.1 Bitcoin is worth $10,179. If Bitcoin hits 200,000, they now have $20,000. If Bitcoin hits 500,000, they have $50,000. If Bitcoin hits 1 million, they have $100,000. I mean, it's not life-changing, but it's respectable. But again, it's not life-changing. Now, investor 2, 1 full Bitcoin. At 200,000, that becomes $200,000. At 500,000, that becomes $500,000. At 1 million, that becomes $1 million. Same percentage growth, 10 times the outcome. But here now is where it gets wild. Once you have 1 Bitcoin, you can borrow against it without selling it. I mean, I'll give you an example. You hold 1 Bitcoin worth $100,788. You borrow $50,000 against it, a safe loan. Bitcoin drops to $80,000. You buy 0.625 Bitcoin at the discount. Bitcoin climbs back to $101,788. That 0.625 Bitcoin you bought is now worth $63,618. You pay back the $50,000 loan, you keep $13,618 in profit, and you still own your original Bitcoin. You cannot do that with 0.1 Bitcoin. One Bitcoin unlocks the leverage, one Bitcoin unlocks the strategy, one Bitcoin unlocks the wealth engine. Now, I know what you're thinking. Mr. Bitcoin Maxi, Bitcoin is over $100,000. I can't buy a whole coin. But here's the truth. You don't need to buy one Bitcoin today. Now, you need to build a system that gets you to one Bitcoin over time. So we're going to break it down. If you invest $100 per week, at today's price, that buys roughly 0.051 Bitcoin per year. Now, at that rate, it would take 19.6 years to reach one Bitcoin if the price never changed. But the price does change. So let's adjust it realistically. Years 1 and 2 at 110,000, you accumulate about 0.095 Bitcoin. Years 3 to 4 at 150,000, about 0.069 Bitcoin. Years 5 to 6 at 220,000, about 0.047 Bitcoin. Years 7 to 10 at 350,000, about 0.06 Bitcoin. And after 10 years, roughly 0.271 Bitcoin. Not enough, but now double the effort. $200 per week becomes $10,400 per year. Now your timeline becomes 9 to 12 years. Okay, get aggressive. $500 per week becomes $20,000 per year. Now your timeline becomes 4 to 6 years. I mean, the math works if you don't stop. Now investor A stops at 0.5 Bitcoin today, $50,894. In 5 years at 300,000 per Bitcoin, $150,000. In 10 years at 800,000 per Bitcoin, $400,000. With a total gain of $349,106. Now investor B reaches one Bitcoin and keeps stacking. Today, $101,788. Stacks another 0.3 Bitcoin. Now holds 1.3 Bitcoin. At $300,000, $390,000. Adds 0.15 more Bitcoin. Now holds 1.45 Bitcoin. At $800,000, $1,160,000. Total gain, $1,058,212. Now, same discipline, 3 times the result because they crossed one Bitcoin. Now I'm going to give you 2 real case studies. 2017 holder bought one Bitcoin at $1,000, added 0.5 Bitcoin during the bear market. Today owns 1.5 Bitcoin valued at $152,682. Now the return would be 15,000%. 2020 pandemic buyer bought one Bitcoin at $5,000, DCA'd another 0.8 Bitcoin, now holds 1.8 Bitcoin worth $183,218. And the return, 3,564%. I mean, show me another asset a regular person can touch that does that. So you need to set an action plan. Step 1, pick your weekly number. Step 2, multiply it by 52. Step 3, divide one Bitcoin by that number. I mean, that's your timeline. Automate it. Remove emotion and stay consistent. And we can go on about this with 2 paths. 1, ignore this, stay average, regret it by 2030. Or 2, you stack Bitcoin, cross one full coin, and change your legacy forever. So with all that being said, drop a comment below. Let me know your thoughts on one whole Bitcoin. And remember, I'm Mr. Bitcoin Maxi, and we're all Bitcoin Maxis, and I'll see you all in the next video. And I hope you all have a good day.